Okay, everyone, I'm back. Just been to the gym and done a bit of practice. I fly out to China on Monday, so I'm back. Got the matches in the commentary now, and I'm definitely happy to be doing this one. I think these two players, well, Petty was a massive tournament favourite, and for me, Scott Gillespie would have been one of the favourites also. Yeah. I've just been informed it's Gooseby. He actually had a word with me yesterday when before he played a match, and when I came in he said, "It's Goobsy, you know." And I said, yeah, Gooseby. So it's only ever going to be Gooseby from now on. Sorry, Scott. So, oh, that's a strange break. Check that out. Potty two. Oh. I think every ball mustn't have been touching there. I'll just try and get you the live chat. I am in on my own for the minute, so if you have any questions. And if this red goes in the middle, what was probably the worst break you've ever seen has gone from being able to get him if this goes. I don't know how many more matches these guys would have to qualify through the loser side, but it's going to be quite a few. At a guess, probably another 4-ish. But I think they'll both be thinking that they're not really going to play any tougher games than this one. I think he's played the cannon onto the yellow and slipped through the gap. Don't know if this doubles past the red into the corner. It's tight. He's just come around to have a look at that now. Decided it doesn't, so he can just nip round this with a bit of left-hand side. Cross double, white up and down, cannon the yellow full ball, just like that. Richard Smith says, what do I think was the bigger achievement, or tougher to do, the EPA Worlds or the IPA Worlds? I presume back in the day when everyone was playing together and all of the best players were playing, then obviously by far, I know it was the old World Championships as it was. There you go, up and down, cannon the yellow full ball, not quite. Maybe he's got an edge of this, and if he's got an edge of it, I think he can pot it. I'm sitting right behind it, and he has got an edge, and the black bit of the actual black ball is sticking out. So it obviously makes it easier to see than if it was the other way and there was white on white. Oh, he just hit what he could see, and that was to overcut it. So yeah, the World Championships as it was when it was a World Championships when everyone was playing together and it was as prestigious as it ever was the hardest. I don't really want to enter a IPA sort of EPA debate on that. surprised he played it up the rail there. I thought he might have just bounced it out to the middle of the table rather than play it up the cushion. I was talking to Scott in the bar a few hours ago, and he was talking about his match yesterday, that he really struggled, and we actually got it wrong, and the information that Lee gave me was wrong. He actually played Mike King first round last year and actually beat him 11-9, not lost 11-9, but yeah, he was obviously disappointed the way that he played. It's a good break, by the way. He deserves to get a ball. He was obviously disappointed the way he played, and he just said he just didn't feel comfortable, and he said that he's just lacking in confidence at the minute. He feels as though he's got no confidence, and strange that you do go through spells like that, even the best players. But he is obviously a very good player, and you know that will definitely come back. It's strange how you go through cycles like that, and I think he is very much a confident player, Scott. He's quite a confident person also when you talk to him in general. So imagine if he was lacking in confidence, it would make a big difference, as it does with anybody. So I have a question: who do you think is the best player in the IPA now? Well, I think the best two players at the minute in the IPA are without a doubt Mark Boyle and Mark Farnsworth. I think that's pretty clear, and there's obviously other people that win the odd event, and Craig Marsh, the world champion, that people don't talk about much, who is obviously a very, very good player, but after winning the Worlds, I'm sure he'd be the first to admit he's had a very bad season. And the most consistent is by far is Mark Boyle and Mark Farnsworth. Yeah, of course, Clint Hansen is right up there, but certainly going off the last, couple of years, that I think those two players are consistently the best. I think, like I said, Marsh and obviously Clint and Jack is very good, but I think Jack certainly, I know he's won a World Championships, but other than that, he hasn't really won what I would expect him to. I think he's definitely an underachiever. I think Ronan McCarthy actually beat Boyle. I was talking to Ronan earlier, and he beat Boyle in the tour. They've got a tour this weekend in London, and Ronan's just beat him 7-6. Got Simon Ward, who is also a really, really good player. Ben Davies, who I've always rated, a really, really good player. And they are relatively short races. They're playing races to 7 and 8. You've got two good players playing like that. Race to 8 is a sprint. It was a good finish that from Petty. The balls weren't the prettiest when he started that. Looking at his boxers all the way through this match isn't the prettiest either. I'm going to have to tell him to pull that belt around a little bit tighter. Once again, slack racks himself, but still made a ball. Frame before, Scott absolutely flushed them. Balls went everywhere, couldn't hit them any better and didn't make one. Petty slack racks himself twice and makes a ball off both of them. And he almost cleared off the last one, and I reckon he'll get close to clearing off this one too. But with the break at English 8 balls, you can do is give yourself the best chance of making a ball by hitting him as good as you can and timing it as well as you can. TJ said he remembered seeing me at the Boyle and Clint money match over in Nottingham. Yeah, I am quite good friends with Clint. He comes over and practices the Chinese quite a lot, and yeah, I was at that match, and he said it was a good night. Whenever I'm on the beer, it's always eventful. Yeah, this yellow is not right over the pocket, so the cue ball will be coming off at pace, so he just needs to make sure he keeps hold of it and gets the cannon right. I presume he's playing a little nudge into the yellow. And I presume that the yellow goes into the right centre. As you can see there, I don't think it does from that angle, but it definitely goes into this bottom left corner. Don't think that does go into the middle, which obviously does change the finish a little bit, which means now he has to take the one that's just below the black spot. If you're wondering what all that scrunching about is, the beard boys are on the polystyrene crisps again. Oh, he's give up, he said. He's on the biscuits now.
Going to get a big batch.
Oh, okay. They're like in the size of like potato sacks. Well, it does go. But he's just had a little wince and then come round to have a look. I think he's a bit late for that. I think he should have already checked if this goes or not. So Simon Gibson said, "Would you ever consider playing an English 8-ball money match again?" And yeah, I definitely would if it was, you know, if it was the right match for the right amount of money. Then I definitely would. I think I'm going to come back and I'm going to play some of the events at the club next year. If the tour goes ahead, then I'm gonna try and I want to try and play 3 out of the 4, which means you qualify for the grand final. So yeah, I would. Of course, you know, if it was the right tournament or the right money match, then I would come back and play. Really good break there from Scott. Flushed the front ball dead straight, stunned the white up and down the spots. And this time he has been rewarded for hitting him good. And I think he's got an angle on the yellow into the middle first to top down and just bump his bad yellow to the top cushion. Just like that. Bump it to the top cushion. I'm a better commentator than I am playing, actually. I've never missed a shot from in here. When I was talking to Scott yesterday, he also said that he felt like he played slow yesterday. And I said to him, it is hard when the ball's a little bit scrappy and you're struggling and every shot you play lands a little bit awkward, you land the wrong side and everything just seems a bit like hard graft. It's not easy to play quick and fluently when everything's going your way and the balls are like this in the middle of the table, and it's easier to play quicker. I think you need to find a balance of playing quick. And taking care. He didn't take care there because he's not on the one to the right of the black. He's on the one over the left corner. He played on the other one. Richard Smith wants a game for 20k against me. Oh, do I get any start there, Rich? Or levels? Good break, good finish from Gooseby. You can see the match on the third table there is Sam Bircher. If you want to watch that, or Liam Farrell is playing Jala on the second table. If you prefer to watch that one, you can transfer to those. It's a good game actually on the third table. Sam Birch was playing Greg Batten. That's actually only 1-1, so these guys have played an extra 2 frames. So he's looking at going reds, and he's looking at potting the red that's on the bulk line, topping off the top cushion, flicking the black out, and then playing the red off the yellow into the bottom right corner. Didn't get any right-hand side on. Obviously, when you hit it that hard, the cue ball jumps back first because the cue ball is lighter than the object balls, so it sort of jumps out to the side before the top spin kicks in. And when you're hitting it that hard, you needed a tracer right-hand side to get the cannon. It was quite a big target really, because as long as he hits the black or the yellow half ball, he would have been okay. And then there was a shot which he looked at to play the yellow further, sorry, the red was further to the right hand side of the table off the yellow, which if he gets that, he wins the frame. He's obviously going to develop the yellow and the black, but I wouldn't worry too much about developing the other one. I'm amazed he hasn't played into the yellow there. I think he could have played into yellow and brought the yellow and the black off the cushion, and then the yellow that he's closest to now, he can just snick this in and just cannon the middle red. I think he's still got that shot, but oh, he's going to go reds. Not sure about that choice. It's gone wrong, but I think he's okay. I think he can. This is one of those shots where he's got to screw this in the middle, and you can't hit it too hard because obviously the angle's acute. So you've got to play it as a soft little screw shot, and you've got to get the cue ball to obviously bite quickly without hitting the shot hard. It's all about the timing, because he needs to be low on the red. Being high is no good, especially if the white's on the rail. He's playing the double into the middle, is he? Oh. Not sure about that, and I'm not sure about the actual choice of taking reds. Cheers, Rich. Glad you're enjoying it. Tough little shot. He's left the angle where he's got to play a soft little screw shot back between the gap of the two reds, so cue ball will go back on the line that it's come from, and then obviously he needs to stop it in the gap. Oh, he played it down the other side of the red. I'm not even sure he can cross double it now. He's looking if it doubles into the corner. I think it does double into the corner. Oh, he's playing across double. He's like low. So he likes to play with a bit aside. Petty. He's loading this up. I think he's just found that awkward place where he's not on the straight double and he's not on the cross double. I think he's in the little double kiss pocket there. Maybe played a treble. Oh, he tried to treble, but he'll be happy with this. In fact, he'll be over the Alfie with that. because he's not on any of these two reds here. He's blocked the double into both pockets. You can see there he's pointing his cue at where he wants to play the snooker. But depending on where he gets the cue ball, he will leave a pretty easy one cushion escape. And depending on where this red goes that he's hitting, obviously. Oh. Well, he'll settle for this. He'll definitely settle for this. He's got him in trouble. I think the only option he's got is just below the middle with a little bit of right-hand side to widen the angle and to flick it in. That's the only shot he's got. He can't play the swerve, he's too close. No, I don't think the up and down's there. I think he's got to get too close to the knuckle right hand side. I think the only shot he's got is you get as close to the middle as you can with right hand side. And that's the end of the frame. So Alex has asked, "Hi Gareth, what advice would you give to a young player who wants to succeed in the game?" Well, you've obviously just got to practice. You know, you don't get nothing out if you don't put nothing in. So you have to practice as much as you possibly can with the best players that you can possibly play with. It's one way that you'll improve your game quickly is by playing with the best players or players that are better than you, and then enter tournaments. You know, there's no substitute for match practice. It doesn't matter how much you actually put in on the practice table. There's no substitute for the match practice. So just enter tournaments, and like anything, you just have to learn your trade. Seems to be thinking a lot clearly now, Scott. I like the way he went about that to leave this ball till last. Because I'm in the commentary on my own, we haven't been updating the statistics, so we haven't got the breaking clearances and the unforced errors, etc. But not been as pretty as you would expect. They've both made a couple of mistakes, but you know, you can't always play perfect, and both of these guys are obviously struggling a little bit in comparison to how they can play. Once again, hit him really well, but you're not guaranteed to make a ball. And he's left quite an easy finish on the Reds. thing I like about Petty is that he does make the finishes look quite easy, and he does make the tough shots look quite easy. He's very flat on the cue. He's very parallel, so you know the angle that the cue comes in is quite parallel. It's not, which helps when under pressure that you're not flicking a little bit aside on. If you're coming a little bit steeper, you're effectively almost playing like a little bit of a swerve shot. And if you don't catch the cue ball in the middle, obviously anything that you're putting over distance pushes the cue ball offline. And Petty's cue is really sort of flat. He gets his body really low. He's slightly overdone that. I mean, he's still going to pot it, but if he was dead straight, he'd just stun it in and pot the black into the left corner. It would have been easier. Scotch match yesterday with Mike King, sort of just had it written all over it, and I said it from about 4 each. I think it was that I thought it was going to go to 10 each, and this match sort of has, I decided, written all over it. Although both players are more than good enough to blow the other one away in the next 5 frames in sort of 15 minutes. Hit the break the same as he had been hitting him, he just racked him up better. Well, call the police. Petty's played a safety shot. He actually just had a look at me there through the petition and sort of smiled as if to say I didn't really want to cover the pocket there, but I sort of had no choice. And now that's frame over also. I think he can. He's going to play the yellow onto the red. Obviously, plant the red in and come off the side rail, and he can just kick the other bad yellow away. Otherwise, looking at pointing at the red, he doesn't really want to hit the red. He wants to hit the yellow. I understand if he hits the red first, it's not too bad, but he should be aiming to hit the yellow. If he hits the yellow full ball, he's won. Doesn't really want to hit the red. They will still open if he hits the red, but see, he's hit the red and he's just winced there. It's just gone a little bit awkward. I think he played to hit the red there, and I haven't got a clue why. He should have been playing to hit the yellow. He's still fine. He can still pop this and screw up the table. It's just now he's got to play a shot where if he hits the yellow, he hasn't. It's just rack him up. It's good to watch these two guys also because they don't hang about. When the balls are in the middle of the table, I think they play as quick as you should do. And you have to find that balance, like I say, of taking a bit of care. But at the end of the day, when the balls are in the middle of the table, it's not difficult. It doesn't look like they're giving a pint of blood every time they take a finish out. It's just quick and quite nonchalant and makes it look easy. And I think that's what any good players at the top of any sport do. They do make it look easy. Didn't hit them as good or as hard as he has the other breaks. And one thing I think as well is he puts the cue ball quite close back to the top cushion. And obviously if it's too far back, then you're not at the maximum acceleration point when you hit the cue ball, which means that you struggle to generate the power from the break. And to me, that's what he did then. He had the cue ball a little bit, but it wasn't close enough to the line. Apologies for the dodgy voice, by the way, if anyone listening is just tuned in and wondering why I'm talking like I've got a peg on the nose. I've got a bit of man flu. This is ideal timing with flying out to China Monday morning, so you can see there a load of the guys in the bar sort of watching all the matches and betting, etc. I've got Jed here, who's the tournament bookie. If any of you like any bets, you can contact Jed on Facebook and get your bet on. He does put the match prices up before every session. Good shot from Petty. He didn't lash at it, just controlled it, and I think he's got rewarded for that. I think they all still go, providing he keeps leaving the right angle and everything. He hasn't got to touch nothing. So, like there, he needed to be the right side of it to let the cue ball drift over to the left side of it to put the other one in the right corner. I think he's got that. Oh no, no, he hasn't got that angle. Oh, he's played into it, but oh, he's played that well. Oh, he topped through it. Yeah, he's played that really well. Even has the option to leave the one over this left corner till last and pot the one long and then drop the one in the middle and leave this as his last ball if it's too thin. I think he's just worried that the one over the left corner's just bounced out a little bit, which means the cue ball's sort of tracking. Shot. And a raise to 8, that's a big frame. 5-3, 4 all. And Petty's break. You can see the first shot he plays here. It's a good shot, this, because too thin or too thick, he misses it. It wasn't a gimme. But he's just taking his time now. He's just sort of... So TJ has put, why is Boyle not in this event? Well, he's not in this event because it's called the PAC, which is the Players Amateur Championships, which means it's amateur only, or with an amateur standard only. I understand that can be a grey area when it comes to certain players, but that's certainly not a grey area when it comes to Mark Boyle. Once again there, Petty... Once again there, Petty dodgy racked himself, and he just actually said to me there through the window, any chance that I can go and set him up for him. I think that's 4 breaks he's had now, and he's slap racked himself 3 times. He's an amateur in the IPA, yes, but I did say of an amateur standard. It's the organiser's decision of an amateur standard also. I mean, let's be honest, that the EPA tour is amateur, is all amateur only, right? But is Tom Cousins an amateur pool player? Is Phil Harrison an amateur pool player? Is Mick Hill an amateur pool player? Well, of course they're not. So we won't get into the silliness of all that. It's just that this is an amateur tournament selected by the organisers of who they think fits into that category. The way that the whole game is at the minute of who's pro and who's amateur is just farcical, isn't it? No, Ben, I don't think he was allowed in it. I'll double check for you, but I'm pretty certain that Boyle wouldn't have been allowed to play in this. He was allowed to play in the last one because the top 8 were restricted. The last one that was 10,000 to win, it was the top 8 that were restricted, and Mark Boyle does fall into that category of outside the top 8. That's why he was allowed to play in the last one. This one's worded differently. This one is the Players Amateur Championships. As you can see at the bottom of the screen, it's the Players Amateur Championships, or of an amateur standard. I'll check for you on that though, but I'm pretty sure had he ever wanted to enter, he wouldn't have been allowed. I'm not condoning all that, by the way, of restricting players. Obviously, I've been through all that on the tour next year. The tour won't be restricted. Anybody in the world will be allowed to enter, and that's the way it should be. This one is an amateur tournament of an amateur standard, and obviously Mark Boyle is one of the best players in the world, so if not the best in the world at the minute. You know, I think we're along with Phil Harrison and Mark Farnsworth. Oh, you're okay, Ben. Don't worry about it. You had me questioning myself then. Oh, about that for a miss. Oh, that could be a game changer, because those were easier than they looked, because the yellow passes, sorry, the red passes the yellow down to the bottom left corner. So those were easier than they looked. Don't think that's good. I don't know if he can just nip it with enough side to get the white through the gap and play it softly to hold. Obviously, you can, or maybe you can play through the gap harder and play on the red into the middle, play on the yellow into the middle. That's what he's played. This looks good. That's good. I think he's got enough angle just to top on and off the cushion with a bit of running side. Where is he catching the red? Oh, did he get a kick? Jumped up off the cue. Is it? Oh, I think his head's fell off here. He just obviously got down and lashed that, but I don't know if he got a kick on that, to be honest. The way he jumped up off the cue was if he got a bad contact. This is what I was meaning by when the finish is easy. And I understand this is a crucial part of the match, but when the finishes are easy, he doesn't mess around. He just gets down and makes the finish look as easy as it actually is. Nicola, it's a grey area. I completely agree. The area of who is an amateur player and who is an amateur standard player is, well, completely grey. But and I know of him letting Stephen Petty in this tournament was the toughest decision. He was obviously a clear favourite, but that's why the events next year won't be restricted, and there won't be any of that, and there's not any of that nonsense of who is and who isn't an amateur player or an amateur standard. Vincenzo said, could I have entered this tournament if I wanted to? Then well no, because it's of an amateur standard, just like the scenario with Mark Boyle. Technically he's amateur on the IPA for this year, but he's obviously not of an amateur standard, and I get that there's a grey area, you can go around in circles with it, you know, I get Nicola's point on that. That's why it's better to just have open tournaments where anybody can enter. Because as it is at the minute, all these tournaments restricted here, restricting there, amateur this, amateur that, you're better off being ranked number 16, or you're better off not being the best player in the world, and that's not the way it should be. TGH, I've already gone through all of this. There's a load of players in this event that are a grey area of who is and isn't of an amateur standard. And of course, Carl Sutton would be one of those players where, of course, he would be good enough to win or to go deep in any tournament with any players. But so would Stephen Petty, so would John Rowe, so would Rob Warren. You know, the list is endless, but. You know, that's what I'm saying. Where do you draw the line with it? You know, it is a real grey area with how you restrict it. One thing you do have to restrict it with is certainly the best players in the world. Next year there won't be this. Yeah, Ryan, I'm going to play in the tour next year. Yes, Mark Allen could have entered. Yes, he's a pro snooker player, but that doesn't mean he's of a pro standard at pool. Yeah, Ryan, I'm gonna play in the series here next year. The criteria is you obviously have to play 3 out of the 4 events to be eligible for the grand final, which will hopefully be 40,000 to the winner. So obviously I'm going to try and make 3 out of those 4 events, China depending. All right. So just to clarify that, TJH. So sorry, what I meant by tour was I'm not going to play any of the tours, as in the IPA tour, the EPA tour. I meant the tour that Lee's doing, which is called the series. So the series, which is going to be played here at our club next year, that's what I'm going to play. If you want information on that, then you can go to our Facebook page, Players Pool Events, and all the details are on there. The dates have already been published. The first 3 events are going to be 5,000 to the winner. The 4th event's going to be 10,000 to the winner, and then the grand final is going to be 40,000 to the winner. The criteria is you have to play 3 out of the 4 events to be eligible for the grand final of the 40 to the winner. Yeah, cheers, Ryan. I'm not sure how much damage I'm going to do at it, but I'm definitely going to play. Obviously, it's more just the physics of the cue ball and the reaction of the balls is the big thing, and see a huge difference in equipment. But depending on when and how long I'm in China for, I'll hopefully be able to spend a bit of time putting some practice in. So we'll see. And with the races being quite long, races to 11 and then double elimination race to 8, it gives you a chance to get into the matches and get into the tournament. And hopefully the longer I stay in the tournament, the better I'll play. Hopefully I don't forget how to ride a bike. Yeah, I think he's taking this ball because the other ball obviously didn't plant onto it, so that's a good shot. He's controlled it and landed on the other one. He'd like to get on this ball next to the red at the bottom of the table in a way where he can screw back and then land on the one to the left hand side. So effectively he's going to clear these 3 balls first and then go down and clear the other 2. I think he may have left the angle here where he can just screw back in between the red. That's the way I would go. I would clear this. I would clear these 2 now if he has the angle to just screw back directly. Oh, that's vile. He didn't have the angle to screw back directly, and now he's finished Chinese over the. And the only thing he can do is pot it, and then have to pot the yellow long, which is horrible. TJH has asked who do I think is going to be the next British player to break through the Chinese 8-ball world. Well, it's hard to tell, because obviously it's tough, and a few of the lads have been getting involved. Clint and Jack, and so it's hard. You obviously have to put a lot of work in. There's a lot of travelling, and there's a lot of work to go into it. Being away from home that's not as glamorous as it looks, especially playing in some of those qualifying events. You're away for sort of 10 days, 10 days if you do well. So it's tough, but all those boys are quite good at it. They've got the 8-ball background. At the end of the day, it's still 8-ball, so they know the patterns, which is the most important thing. Technically, you have to be good, but the patterns are important. It's a good shot. Got a bit of a deflated look actually as he walked back to his chair there, Scott, but he's not out of this. He only has to win 4-0. It's him making 2 balls and 2 dry breaks, and obviously the standard these guys play at. That's what you have to believe. You have to believe you're not out of it until he pots the black. When you're playing someone that you can sense they've sort of half give up on the match, it sort of takes the pressure off you a little bit. He has to go reds because he can play the red off the yellow, and then the other red goes, and then the black goes down the rail. He took his eye off it, watching the cue ball. So Sam said, would I say the IPA tour was the highest standard in the UK? Is, yeah, in depth, I think it is, yeah. I think they've obviously both got world-class players, but I think in depth, yeah, I think it is. By quite a way, actually, thinking about it, but He missed that, trying to create the angle to kick the ball out. See there, he's looking a little bit frustrated, and obviously Scott is a much better player than he's played in the 2 matches on this stream the weekend, but everybody has bad weekends. So Petty wants to play the red off the yellow and also kick the black out in the same shot with the other yellow. He can't get there directly, he has to bump the other yellow into the black. Good news, really. Good news, bad news. He missed the ball, but he hasn't kicked the black out. And he hasn't moved the red away from the pocket. It looked like a bit of a lash, but he tried to kick the yellow out. Got the second prize and kicked the red away, but I don't think he's got a shot on nothing apart from the long yellow into the top left corner. What a pot that is. I was actually right behind that shot, and that was tight. You could only just get past the red. The red was sort of a guide. This will be some clearance, to be fair. And that's what I was saying, you know. I know he's sort of, but he's still in this match, especially if he gets this finish. He'd like to get on the one down the rail next and leave the one over the middle to the last, obviously for the 8. I'm not sure if he's got the angle to do that. Oh, he's missed it trying to get there. He's obviously trying to get the cue ball in a place that he can't get it to if he pots the yellow. He's going to pot this and screw into the black, leaving the other 2 reds as guaranteed balls to land on. Good shot. Couldn't go wrong as long as he hit the black. It was impossible. Another session is starting now. If any of you want any bets, you can go to the Facebook page. Jed puts all the prices up before every session. It is roll on, roll off, so they don't wait for matches to finish. So if you are wanting a bet, then you can check those prices out. So that's your lot. Tournament favourites still in. I think that's probably at least another 3, maybe 4 matches for Petty, because he's obviously in the loser's side. I don't know who he's playing next, and I don't know who's on this stream table next, but the next match will be starting shortly. See you soon.